Hello, welcome to Big Bang Radio Spotlights. This is a show where we talk to independent artists from all around the world all about their music and their process for making it. I'm your host, Isaac Anderson, and today I get to sit down with the musician Phebe Starr. Without any further ado, here's the interview. Well, Phebe, thank you so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate it. I've been very excited to talk to you because you're an awesome musician and you just seem like you got a lot of awesome stuff going on in your head, and I want to know all about it. But I want to start at the beginning of your musical journey, just like we do with all the other artists that we talk to on the show. And the first question I want to ask you is, what is your earliest musical memory?
I think it's dancing to maybe Michael Jackson or some old classic music in my house with my mum. My mum's a huge music lover, and we had lots of vinyl growing up, and we lived on a farm, and so we'd blare the speakers up, and I grew up in a big family, and so one of my earliest memories would be just causing absolute chaos for my mum, listening to old records in the lounge room.
You said you had a pretty large family. Were anybody else in your family musical? Like, were your parents musical, siblings musical?
Yeah, I think probably not in the traditional sense in saying that they played instruments or anything like that, but I think they definitely created embodied a musical culture. My mom is a lover of music, and my dad loves music too. They're very different styles. My dad listens to like Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings, and he's more of a reserved type of person. So he wouldn't let himself be heard enjoying music, but I would catch him occasionally singing like Elvis while he was cleaning or doing something like that. And he has the most magnificent voice. But my mum is more, she uses music to socialize a lot, and she's more of the party animal, brings people together, but my whole family, like we grew up listening to music, socializing, having people over all the time, and my siblings actually started a family band without me.
What?
Yes, so I'm the youngest. And they started this band, and they would write songs together. And being the youngest kid, you always feel left out. And so I vowed when they started that band, I was like, how dare you start this band without me, without the lead singer? So basically, me becoming a musician was just a big plot to get revenge on my older siblings.
Well, you've definitely got revenge on them because you definitely garnered a pretty solid fan base, and you make awesome music. But and you've been writing music and playing music for a little bit now. But was there a moment in your life that you can recall where you kind of just realized that, like, oh goodness, this music thing is not like a hobby. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to pursue.
It hasn't really ever been a choice to me. So I remember some of my earliest memories. Like, I grew up in a very isolated rural part of Australia where we didn't have access to many TV stations. So we had public air TV, and you had to have a coat hanger to get the reception. And I didn't have any musical teachers, or we didn't offer music at school. It was that rural, and it took an hour and a half to get to school, where it was a town of 1,000 people. So it was very rural, and there wasn't much of any conversation about the arts being a legitimate career in any way. But I just have these early memories of writing songs as soon as I could speak, and it just being a natural part of who I was. And it's been a crazy journey then to commodify that and look at how the business side works. And I honestly hate that side of it, but it's a pragmatic side. And it's caused me a lot of confusion even. But ever since I was a kid, I remember seeing Carole King play on an award show, and with the piano, and she was a songwriter and a musician. And I didn't really know much about it being a job, but I just knew I wanted to make music with my life. And so that journey has gone on to mean so many different things. And I've doubted it a lot of the time. And going through COVID, it's been really rough for musicians, and it's hard financially. But I think we put so much pressure on becoming like, now you're allowed to be a musician and now you're not. And you know, there's different seasons where I've had to pick up part-time work, or figure out, okay, this isn't working, or even writing more commercial music isn't working for me right now. There's this constant balance between figuring out how to have a life and a job and then keep myself hungry and satisfied. And no matter what I do, that instinct to create won't go away. And I've tested that. I've tried to, I guess, be a normal person, and I don't fit within those structures. So yeah, just doing it.
When I heard your music for the first time, I really hear a lot of emotional qualities to it, especially taking a song maybe like Ode to an Alien. It kind of encapsulates you in this atmosphere and really kind of drives home a lot of powerful emotions in there. When you write the music and when you record, do you have a pretty clear vision on, like, this is what the instruments are going to be doing, I want this to be hitting this, and these words have to be hitting exactly that? Or is that process a little bit more sporadic?
Well, I think, you know, there's different times when I use different skill sets. Like writing a song is like building something pragmatic. But for me, in the personal songs that you're talking about, my own artistry, I definitely have an ineffable process that I use, which relies more on the world inside my brain. So often, the way my brain works, I guess, is I have dyslexia, so I'm bad at written words. And I also have synesthesia, which I'm not sure most artists have synesthesia, which is kind of like I get sensory overload a lot of the time. So the way I think and the way my brain works is I'm thinking a lot of colors and a lot of symbolism rather than logical kind of things. And I get a lot of inspiration all the time. And so basically I'll have these experiences where I might not be able to communicate it with words, but it's a feeling. And it's a feeling inside my brain that I can't describe with words. And so music and color and visual, basically I'm just trying to communicate this transcendent experience that I have inside my brain. And words help with that. Like Ode to the Alien, it's like this egg that lives inside of you and you can feel it. And I don't know what it is about it, but you just know it's the most important thing to get out. And I have such confidence in that experience of, like, these eggs get planted inside of me and then I have to birth it out. And I'm not exactly sure what it means. And I've given up trying to explain it with words or trying to put a value on that makes sense, because it just feels incredibly important to me. And it's the thing that, I like doing with all of my time.
You mentioned earlier you were in Australia, but for a brief time, I believe you were in, you resided in LA for a little bit, but now you're back in Australia. I believe you were in the Sydney area, correct?
Yeah, so I actually moved to LA, which I love LA. I love LA so much. I love all my friends there. I love America. I love the music industry there. And the reason why I moved there was because, you know, I could stay being this obscure, weird artist and play in smaller venues, but there's such a bigger industry there and there's such a bigger economy. So it meant that I could get older and be a musician sustainably. So I loved living there. And unfortunately, when I came back to Australia for a 3-week tour, and when that happened, COVID happened and they shut the borders here. And I'm still an Australian citizen and living in LA. I was on an artist visa, so I was connected to doing performing shows. and they closed the border here, so they stopped anyone that wasn't a permanent resident from going back to America. So, despite my will, I wasn't allowed to come back, and so I still had a house and everything over in LA, and I've had to figure it out of what to do in the last year. And so, I stayed with friends for a bit. I got an Airbnb, and then I finally I got a rental here, and I've been, yeah, luckily my manager got stuck here too. So we've been figuring it out together in the same situation. But I really do miss LA, and I hope America, when things start to settle down, will take me back. And, I'll always be Australian, but I really do love writing music in America, and I love the American music industry. I think it's a fantastic, safe, supportive, creative environment.
When I first discovered you, I found you like as a suggestion on Instagram, and one of my favorite things besides your music is just your daily life, just photographs you take, things you're doing with your friends, like just you dancing to records. Like it just seems like you're a fun person to be around, and it seems like you have a very fun and interesting life. But just in your own words, what is a typical day for you like? Do you tend to try to set times aside to create? Do you just kind of like to be free and let inspiration strike? I don't know. What exactly goes on in your day?
Yeah, I think I do actually like hearing that. I probably do have a very weird life, and partly because of the way I was raised was so, I grew up on a farm, and we lived sustainably off the land there. So I was taught to kind of live in this creative seasonal way, and taught to make the most of every day. My mom was a single mom, and she worked really hard, and she had a lot of fun too. So yeah, I think that really impacted me in the way that I live life, and probably don't see that it's a bit different. But I'm an early morning person, and I wake up and I have an extreme amount of energy at 6 a.m., which annoys a lot of people, and which is quite weird for a creative as well. And I journal. The first thing I do is journal, and I drink coffee, and I write down all of the things that I want to do in the day. And, I live off my creativity. So that's really scary a lot of the times, but I've been doing it for a while, and I keep myself accountable to what I want to create and what I want to do and the failures and successes I have. So the journaling really helps me cope with that, because, some things don't work out and some things do. And so I tend to get all my fears and my dreams and excitements out in the morning, and then I go and do it. So that might be in the studio with another artist working on another album. It might be at home writing for myself. It might be having meetings. There's so many different things that it is, but I tend to just go with the flow and see what happens. And yeah, mainly I've been in studios the last few years, so yeah.
Heard that. Well, speaking about studios, I believe you're going to be releasing your debut LP, your debut album pretty soon, and I know you're excited. We're all excited to hear it. And can you let everybody know how's that process been, and maybe when we can expect to hear some stuff from it?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that it's been an easy process. I've probably made it way more difficult than it's needed to be. And probably going back to the conversation we had before, is like there's a whole lot of doubts. There's a whole lot of questioning your identity, of like where you fit in the commercial side and if anyone cares, and et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's taken a lot more effort than it probably should have. But I think in the last couple of years, I've really found more security in my process and what I'm doing and what I have to offer. And I'm so excited about the album, because I think it's going to be the first one of many. But I think it's taken so long as for me just to trust myself and trust the music that I make and my creative ideas. And then COVID came along, obviously. So I just am so excited about it, and I think it's really good.
I know everybody is excited to hear it. I'm definitely excited to hear it. And if people want to keep up with you and just everything you're doing music-wise, how can people find you online?
Yeah, I think they can just find, I put my daily life up there like most kids these days on Instagram and Twitter and sometimes Facebook and sometimes TikTok. I'm not a huge TikTok fan yet. But I do put up some live recordings and things there. And yeah, mainly Instagram. I really like using Instagram. I think it's a cool way to communicate. And recently, I've actually been sending out mail. So I've been doing, yeah, kind of an old school way. I like connecting online, but I think who I am as a person is a bit more vintage, and I like to stay in touch with people, and I like to go deeper than maybe wider. So I've been sending people mail. I actually made these postcards randomly enough. The reason why I saw this was because I made these postcards yesterday, and it has I just like making things. So it has Liberace and a dinosaur and a picture of me and just some fun things. And then I put this cool tea recipe on the back. I have no idea why I do things like this, but I like to stay in contact with people in ways that aren't, hey guys, what's happening? Like I like the deeper parts of life, and I love it when people tell me the deeper parts of their lives. So I've started mailing people. So if you want to get onto that, you can find the link on my social media too. And weirdly enough, I spell my name a bit alternatively too. So it's Phoebe without an O and Starr, Starr.
Phoebe, thank you so much for talking to us. It's been a blast talking to you. You have an awesome personality. You make awesome music. And before you go, I got one more question for you, if you don't mind. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen a Big Bang Radio spotlight before, but I'm a musician, but I also have a very big affinity for film. And I believe musicians have a very soft spot for film. And then I believe that they're connected to it in ways that a lot of people really aren't. So, Phoebe, what is your favorite movie?
Oh, favorite movie. I don't think there's one favorite movie, but I can tell you some things that I'm into. I love Studio Ghibli. I love Wes Anderson. I love really old film and old cinema. So like An Affair to Remember or A Streetcar Named Desire. And I also love Wong Kar-wai. I love cinema so much, but I'm more of a traditional cinema buff than maybe the modern cool things.
Thanks to Phoebe for sitting down with us and talking all about her music. If you want to see more interviews just like this, you can find us online at Studio 67 NCC. Thank you all for watching. I'm Isaac Anderson, and until next time, stay lovely.